While in oral communications, I've learned many things. But of all the things I have learned, the most important in my mind would have to be communicating effectively with others. Communicating with others is an important life skill because no matter what career path I decide to go down, I'm going to have to communicate with others. In order to be a competent communicator, one must be able to use both nonverbal and verbal communication techniques, manage anxiety while giving your speech, and be able to communicate in a group setting. Competent communication starts with being able to communicate effectively with your verbals and nonverbals. Let's start with nonverbals. One example of nonverbal communication is like is complimenting, which is nonverbal cues, according to William Sellier, Melissa Beal, and Joseph Mazer. Nonverbal cues would be like hand gestures or like nodding your head when you talk and stuff like that. Another example of nonverbal communication is eye contact. According to an article titled 16 Best Ways to Improve Nonverbal Communication at Work, eye contact can convey interest, attention, and show confusion to the speaker. And now for verbal communication. One example would be like language, which is like you should use language that your audience can understand. And you need to know that words have a connotative meaning and a denotative meaning, as said by William Sealer, Melissa Beal, and Joseph Mazer. Denotative meaning is the dictionary meaning, so like the literal like definition of a word, and connotative meaning is what a word suggests because of feelings it invokes. And another aspect that I found as an important part of being a competent communicator is being able to manage speech anxiety. Like just last week, I had to give a speech in my Composition 2 class, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous, but with what I learned in this class, I was able to overcome my anxiety and eventually give my speech. According to Richard Norquist, speech anxiety is defined as the fear experienced by a person when delivering or preparing to deliver a speech. And so, like I said earlier, I got pretty nervous when I had to give my speech, but the book gave me these steps to deal with speech anxiety, and I tried to follow them as best I could. And step one in that process is start planning and preparing your speech early. Step two is choose a topic you care about. So in my example, I chose GMO foods. And step three is become an expert on your topic. And I had to do this by researching my topic extensively. And step four is research your audience. So that's like know your audience, like know their interest and their biases and stuff like that. Step five is practice your speech. And I feel like I did that pretty well since I was so nervous. I felt compelled to stand in front of my mirror like the old cliche and practice my speech to myself. And step six is know your introduction and conclusion well. Lastly, I found that being able to communicate effectively in a group setting helps make you into a more competent communicator. So, the first thing you should do when communicating in a group is follow group communication ethics, which can be found in the book. So step one is that everyone has the right to state an opinion or perspective. Step two is members should be willing to share information that can benefit the group. And I think step two kind of goes back to step one, because if everyone has the right to like say their opinion, then they should be willing to share that information that would benefit the group. And step three, everyone should be honest with each other and have integrity. So I think in my mind what this means is that like if someone in your group maybe like suggests something that's off topic or something, you should be honest with them and tell them like, I don't think that would be the best way to do this, but like in a nice way, don't like come at them. And step four is confidential information shared within the group should remain confidential. And that's kind of like going back to when we were kids and we would like tell our best friend a secret. You expect your best friend to keep that secret to themselves since you trusted them with that information. And step five, members must use all information ethically. And I think step five just kind of wraps up all the other points into one point. And the advantages of working in a group is that groups help people achieve goals that potentially would not be achieved without a group. So, like for example, if you think of the like three-leg race where your inside leg is like tied to the other person, you have to work together to achieve your goal, which would be finishing the race or winning the race. And another advantage would be multiple sources of information. So that's kind of like two heads are better than one, or like in a bigger group setting, like five people, like five heads, obviously better than one. And the third advantage is safety in numbers. So this is kind of like if multiple people show that they believe in something, more people are more likely to think that it's like trusted information. And one disadvantage of working in a group would be groupthink. So that's when the goal values getting along together more than considering new ideas. So that would be like if I shared an idea that wasn't really related to the topic, but everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea," because they just didn't want to like confront me and ruin the chemistry of the group. But throughout my semester in oral communications, I learned about communication not only to further my education, but I truly learned a life skill with being able to be a competent communicator. I learned the importance of verbal and nonverbal communication. I learned how to deal with speech anxiety, which I really put to the test last week, and I learned the effectiveness of having the framework to communicate effectively in a group setting, which I value like very highly because no matter what I do, more than likely I'm going to be interacting with many other people in the work setting. So like being able to communicate in a group is very important. And being a competent communicator includes all of these aspects that I've talked about. Competent communication goes beyond just the classroom. Competent communication is a skill that I am now able to take on along with me in my future career, as well as into my own personal relationships.